Hello and welcome to Las Vegas to the Infrastructure Summit by Structure Research. Joining me now on the sidelines of the event is Jeff Uphues, CEO of DC BLOX. And Jeff, it's a pleasure seeing you again.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Last time I saw you it was a few thousand miles further west.
Yeah, a little bit nicer weather, but it's still nice here.
Well, January PTC, it's always a good experience. Look, we are of course at the 6th edition of the Infrastructure Summit by Structure Research. This year's themed conference is concurrence. So looking at all the things that are happening at the same time in the industry. So AI demand, supply chain issues, energy, inference, neoclouds. There's so much happening. My regulations policy is a big topic as well. In your opinion, what trends of everything that's happening now, what trends will define data center development over the next 12, 18, 24 months?
It's a great question. I mean, energy is certainly at the core of everything. We've never seen data center in the entire digital infrastructure space be as hot in a category globally than what it is today. I really think that energy is the key pivotal thing, because a data center without a network or a data center without energy is an island that it just really can't do anything. So energy and the different types of energy and where those pockets are available for energy is really the defining thing here. I think a lot of utilities are trying to determine what's their way of determining who are the really key developers who've had proven track records versus new developers. It doesn't mean that new developers won't be successful. It's just the bar is changing and moving really, really fast, of having a great equity and debt base of what you have in your company, having a great reputation, and being able to do that will help you power through, no pun intended, of all the utility issues, and whether it's behind the meter, in front of the meter, whether it's close to nuclear, and then how do you navigate the whole supply chain of the neoclouds versus the hyperscalers?
Well, we've really seen the shift in the last 6-7 years of the industry becoming a real estate business to becoming an energy business. Just to pick your brains, what do you think of the blame game that's going on between operators and energy grids, energy providers? So the energy providers are saying that the data centers just popped up out of nowhere. No one told them we're going to need all this power. So instead of just getting on with it, we are having some fight in Europe. A couple of providers in the US as well saying, well, data centers are to blame because it tells you they're going to need all this. Like, what's your take on that?
Well, number one, I think that the energy providers, I mean, I'll speak on the terms of US. We're only in the US, predominantly in the Southeast United States. This is foreign territory for the energy providers. They have had relatively stagnant growth for the last 20 years. The electrical grid is, aging and 30 to 50 years old in many cases, whether it's nuclear, coal, gas, they're retiring things. So the combination of retiring legacy coal-fired plants, adding the new increased demand, and then just the size of the things, it's putting a lot of pressure on the mainly transmission and in generation. So when you look at how the utilities are behaving, this is foreign territory for them. So for them to navigate it, they're trying to, in what we feel in many ways, is navigate through the ones that really have that capability of delivering versus a lot of new entrants into the market, which may not have the end customer credit, may not have the capability or the general experience to build in either teams or others. So for us, looking at the energy grid, I think each one's different. You have nuclear and SMRs, you have micro SMRs or minis that, from the AP1000s down to the AP300s, all the way down to the SMRs and the, micro SMRs that are out there. You've got DOE with initiatives that is coming out around the 4 main bases of Paducah, up in Oak Ridge, in area of Idaho, and then the Savannah River site in the southeast. And then you have all of the new nuclear AP1000 fleets from Westinghouse that are trying to be deployed, whether it's through Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, into South Carolina and others. So there's a lot that is happening on a lot of different fronts.
The nuclear conversation is very interesting, and even looking at the agenda of this conference, nuclear was the second panel on day one. Usually it's pushed to the end of the conference. This time it came right at the front of the conference. Do you think that's going to be, the transformational aspect that we're missing to really get the industry to boom, to build all the AI infrastructure? Is it going to rely all on nuclear, or is there other technologies you're looking at, other energy sources you're looking at?
Well, I think there needs to be a bridge into nuclear. There's very few areas that you can, if you start looking at how quick can you get like Westinghouse's fleet of 10 AP1000s, putting it into the grid. You know, that is going to take over the course of the next 10 years. And a lot of it has to do with permitting and others. Some can move faster. I mean, we do a lot of business in the Southeast and related to South Carolina. You've got the VC Summer plant that is being restarted, that one reactor is about 40% complete, another one's 25% complete. You have 2 more licenses that are at the W.S. Lee Center, and between those 2, there are 4 capabilities of AP1000 nuclear reactors that could be the fastest path to nuclear anywhere in the country. So when you look at that, that's still a 6 to 10 year deployment, 10 year if you're starting new, 6 if you're kind of reenacting one of them. But that's going on around the country. I think that we're starting to see some small micro SMRs that are coming in. I think nuclear and being a constant, always on clean energy technology is the only way to go. But we've got to bridge that gap with gas and other alternatives until we get to that point where the nuclear fleet can be fully deployed.
Yeah. So it's a very sensible approach, bringing the bridge. And actually, one thing that I learned yesterday is that you can actually recycle nuclear waste. So that might be a huge game changer, because I didn't know, and some other people didn't know about it as well. It was the first time we ever heard.
Well, it's an initiative of what DOE has, and they say, you know, where is a place that we can enrich, where can we recycle, and where can we produce in a place where you can do that all on one site.
Yeah.
A place like Savannah River site in South Carolina is a great opportunity to do that. You also have that at INL, that is Idaho National Labs.
Yeah, well, it's going to make a much more appetizing business case for investors as well, if you can make it even greener by recycling some of the nuclear waste. Let's talk about DC BLOX now, because you're coming up to your 10th anniversary next year, so 2026 is going to be a big year for you.
Thank you.
2 candles to be blown on the cake. Let's start with the journey up to now. So how has the company changed over the years, adapted to how the market is changing, especially the last maybe 24 months, I'm going to say 24 months especially, with the whole AI boom. Like, how's the company changing?
Well, originally we had a theory, and our theory was, if we deploy a purpose-built asset that is the best asset class in underserved markets, we become the de facto place where all government, all cloud, all carriers, all wireless, all enterprises, all universities eventually deploy into. And we'll wait for the hyperscalers to then push out into these edge markets. And that strategy really started for us in 2016, rolling through 2017, and then how do we grow? So we were independently putting 1 data center per year in a lot of these tier 2 type markets, and saying we believe that these will ultimately prevail as great hyperscale sites. And if we fast forward into 2025, now all of our sites have hyperscale deployments that are within them, with the exception of 1. So when we look at that growth period, and now things have moved out of some of the major markets, our strategy always remained constant. And I won't say that we pivoted towards hyperscale exclusively. We evolved towards hyperscale because it was always part of our vision and our mission to say, how can we build these type of assets in these markets? And we've just taken that, and now, you know, with the deployment of our cable landing station in Myrtle Beach, that is now the largest cable landing station on the eastern seaboard in the size of square footage as well as power, and the number of ocean bore pipes that are out that are accepting cables from around the globe. It's really been a launching point for us to get into much larger deployments with the hyperscale community.
Yeah, well, I mean, the subsea cable business is another side of the industry that's also growing a lot, and actually doesn't get as much attention as it should. Even at conferences like this, we should be talking more about subsea cables and the fiber side of things.
Well, it's really what drives the ecosystem in the Southeast United States. It's becoming a global IP hub of epic proportion on the backbone of the internet in Myrtle Beach, and we've also announced a second one that is going into Flagler Beach, which is just north of Daytona, south of Jacksonville. So when you start thinking of the aging amount of cables that are on the eastern seaboard and the new capabilities of some of these 500 terabit cables that are out there, we are uniquely positioned like no other company to not only accept those cables, but help drive that traffic into the core areas of Hyperscale Alley in, you know, the Southeast, which is through Atlanta, through Tennessee, through the South Carolina and North Carolina region.
Okay, and then of course the Southeast is a huge focus areas for you. That's where you've developed these first 10 years of the business. When you look into site selection, questions. So first, how are you planning to expand in the Southeast? And two, what's going to drive you maybe outside of the Southeast? Because that has to be on the cards for the next 10 years.
It is. I mean, I won't say that we'll never expand out of the Southeast, but right now we have great connections and focus, which I think has really helped our company. Not only are we a data center provider, but we also have built strategically fiber assets that connect our data centers together. So by doing that in the Southeast, we have an inherent advantage, not only knowing those markets, being very connected politically from the White House to the State House to things in between. I think that where we go now is where can we continue to put assets in the regions of what we know really, really well. But it's changed from saying just tier 1 markets, like a lot of developers did. We chose to go to the tier 2 markets. I think that gives us a competitive advantage because we know where there's pockets of grid power and then pockets of where you could enable behind the meter solutions and others that really give us some competitive advantages. So we're going to continue to stay focused on the Southeast for now, but the business has completely evolved from data centers that were 5 to 10 megawatts to now hundreds of megawatts and now into gigawatt campuses of what DC BLOX is looking at.
Well, and that's the impact of the hyperscaler demand and the AI demand.
Correct.
Are you seeing demand from neoclouds already? Are you getting to the game as well?
We are. We've got a great deal of respect for the neoclouds. I mean, there's a lot of them that are out there, and we think that there's an opportunity to continually lean into them in some areas. Predominantly, we're mainly all hyperscale at this point, but we're watching it closely and finding opportunities where we can serve them in the same way that we serve hyperscalers. But I think it's evolving over a period of time. I mean, when you talk about the sheer capital intensity of what needs to be financed, it's so much easier to finance a hyperscale credit customer than it is a neocloud. But some of the neoclouds are doing some really great things, and we look forward to continually exploring how can we do business with them.
In terms of capital structure, can you walk us through how DC BLOX is built? So where does the money come from for further expansion? Are you looking to raise more capital? Where would the capital come in? Equity, debt? Just give like an umbrella overview of the capital structure.
Yeah, we've been backed, very, very well by a couple of firms, Bain Capital and Post Road Group. We've managed to create a structure where we bring in limited partners into our overall structure that allows us to have access to lots of capital, both from pension funds and insurance firms. Recently, Post Road did a transaction with FS, as Future Standard, which now also makes it easier for us to have more liquidity access into some of the markets. But we really utilize a lot of debt within our things from some of the leading banks around the world, which we've had just great success with doing that and partnering with them well.
Okay, just to pick your brains on the wider industry trends around capital, what's your temperature check on the market when it comes to finance investment? I mean, during this week at the conference here, we had one of the largest acquisitions in the industry of $40 billion this week. How do you see this is all going?
Well, if you're writing really, really good contracts with your end customers, there's plenty of market or plenny of capital in the market that is attractive. Like I can tell you that we just did a $1.15 billion transaction on a 120 megawatt center that we did in west side of Atlanta. And in that center, it was massively oversubscribed based upon the type of customer lease and the type of engagement and interaction or the integration of what we have with both our fiber as well as our hyperscale facility. So I think it comes down to the quality of the paper you're writing, the tenets of who you are writing it with, the quality of the lease for what you are doing, and then the reputation. I mean, we've built every single one of our facilities on time, in budget, repetitively, over and over and over again. So we've got a just remarkable team and an unbelievable track record for execution, which I think helps. And as long as we continue to keep doing those type of deals, the liquidity for having debt capital in the market and then adding incremental equity capital where needed is plentiful for us right now.
And that goes to echo the sentiment here as well, because trusts and reputation really came up high on some of the points on how people will do business with operators, especially hyperscalers, new clouds, and how the investors will finance those things. It's about delivering on time, like you said as well.
Well, we've done this in 4 ways. I mean, the things that have been core to our culture and what we really work back with customers are 4 things. Number 1 is ultimate transparency. If you're transparency with your customers, you'll create trust. if you create trust, you can execute if you do that in teamwork. And if you wake up every day with tenacity of execution, those four things of transparency, trust, teamwork, and tenacity of execution really make what DC BLOX is about, both externally and internally. And at the end of the day, you know, we can say we build data centers, we build fiber networks. What we build is we build trust, and it's trust with our lending partners, our equity partners, as well as our customers.
I value trust a lot, so I totally see what you're saying. I've got two more questions for you, and then you're free to go back to the conference. AI bubble, worry or not worried?
I think that there's a lot of noise in the market right now. I think that the sustainability of the demands of what we're seeing, both from the hyperscalers and the neo clouds, probably extends somewhere through 26, maybe into 27. I think at some point in time there will be a pause. Is that pause short term? Is a pause long term? It can't be sustained at the same amount here. There's a lot of intrinsic things that I know has got the financial markets worried, whether it's the circular reference of where NVIDIA's engaging in AI, open AI, and what's taking place with you know, the likes of CoreWeave or AMD or you know, others that are within the cycle. I still think that there's a lot of demand for 26 and into 27. I think that it takes prudent and cautious engagement related to, you know, what types of deals are you writing and what things are you not, from the types of leases and the types of transactions you do. Ultimately, I think that there will be some fallout, but DC BLOX is prepared to be able to execute against that when that does happen, because we built a just remarkable, sustainable business.
Yeah, and even if it's a slight pause, a slight slowdown, it's not a falling off the cliff like 2000.
No, we saw that. We saw that some in 2020, 2024. There was a lot of activity by a lot of hyperscalers. You had DeepSeek that came out at the beginning of the year that caused a lot of people to pause, and then now many of those hyperscalers and others have come roaring back into the market, still behind some of their capacity plans. And the neo clouds have actually made some great traction in that period of time as well. So I think the next 18 months to 2 years is still pretty robust. But you know, all of us need to watch that really, really closely.
It's a bit of a recalibration. So once in a while is not a bad thing. It makes you correct. Like, it's not even taking a step back. You take a bit longer to give it a longer step forward.
This is a long game. You know, the short term wins. You know, some people are seeing some now. You got to be really careful in how do you build your company to last, and how do you make sure you're making prudent investments, and that's what we do. 100%.
Jeff, last question. What question did I not ask that I should have asked?
The only thing you really didn't ask, well, you kind of did, but it's around valuations, and you know, the aligned valuation is, you know, congratulations to Andrew and team. They've done a great deal of leading in so many great ways, but it also sets a high watermark for the industry. And a lot of us look at that and say, you know, thank you. I think that helps in future valuations for where we go. We're not in the market for anything right now, but you know, as time goes on, I think you can't ignore some of the things of, you know, finding the next capital partners that can help fuel that next wave of growth, because the capital numbers are getting really big.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pick on that and actually ask one more question, and this is now going a bit off the track, but IPOs. There's been a bit of a flurry of them, especially in Asia. We're starting to see some in the US. In our space, because outside of the data center space, there's actually been some delistings because it's easy to do business outside of NASDAQ. Do you think the industry is in a place where it's a good idea to go to the stock market? And this is not about DC BLOX, it's just picking up your brains in the wider industry trend. But is it the right time for people to do this?
I think for certain aspects in the digital infrastructure space, I think you'll see a couple that will likely come out and go public. I think that many of the operators like ourselves that are highly levered in leverage and debt of what we put on these is too much for the public market. So we'll have to figure out a way to either delever some of that, if that is a path of what we would take going forward. I mean, none of it's off the table for us, but I think that right now, I mean, there's so much liquidity in the market still. When you're writing really, really good transactions with your customers and you've got a track record, I think that there's still a lot of liquidity that you don't need to tap the public markets yet, but it doesn't mean that it won't change.
And the regulations and the expenses of being in the public markets, all that comes into it as well. But Jeff Uphues, CEO of DC BLOX, thanks so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
As for your home, thank you for watching, and do check our website and social media for the latest digital infrastructure news from across the globe. At the Tech Capital, you lead, we report. Bye for now.